Hello everyone, Michael here. Do you often feel that you have conversations that just fizzle out and go nowhere? Or do you ever feel like you're just invisible in a room and people barely even register that you're there? Well, today we're going to talk about how you can be a more interesting person to talk to. And if you're familiar with my work, then you should know that I'm a big believer that success doesn't really necessarily come from the things that you do, but it comes even more from the things that you specifically do not do. So I want to start off by going through a lot of the common mistakes that I most often see that my clients make. One of the biggest mistakes that I see clients make is that they can sometimes project negativity. Now, a negative, Debbie Downer, complaining person, this is a type of personality that just repels almost all other people. And it's one that you really should try to avoid. Even if you're not in a positive mood, you shouldn't be actively spreading negativity to other people. This is just going to push them away. If you have one interaction with a group of people and it doesn't go particularly well, you shouldn't hold on to any negativity from that and carry it into future interactions. That's just going to poison future interactions and create a cycle where everything's just going to get worse and worse as the night goes on. While a lot of times you can completely turn it around from one interaction to the next, as long as you're not the person carrying the negative emotions from one place to another. The negative people who hire me for live in-person social coaching, I find this kind of like synonymous with them hiring a track coach and then showing up to the field and shooting themselves in both feet. They're just handicapping themselves so heavily from the start that everything else is going to be 10 times harder than if they came with a positive attitude. The second big mistake that a lot of my clients make is that they try too hard to impress other people. And since a lot of my clients come from the tech world, like myself, they try to impress people with showing off their intellect more than really showing off maybe wealth or money like other people commonly do. And this is a common problem people who really focus on their occupation and spend most of their time doing one thing have. And I myself had this problem back in university where I used to spend, 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, either in class or in the laboratory or working on problem sets. And I really didn't have much of a life outside of my studies, so when it came to interacting with people, I didn't really have that much to talk about, I felt, with them if they weren't part of this small world. And the only thing I really felt I had a value to show off is maybe my intellect and the fact that I was working in a difficult major. But this never really worked. Trying to actively impress a person through either your wealth or intellect has very little to do when it comes to initially establishing likability or attraction. These type of things are going to benefit you much more after an initial connection has already been made. You should let such information come up naturally within a conversation, since actively promoting it in an arrogant, conceited, or braggadocious type of way is only going to negate its benefit. The next big mistake that I see clients make is that they come off as a judgmental person. No one likes to be judged. And not only necessarily judging the person you're talking to, but also if you come off as judgmental about other people or other things in front of that person, that still makes you appear very judgmental. And people hate to be around people they feel that they're judging them. People often don't feel comfortable opening up and forming a connection with a person that they find is critical and judging. Plus, a lot of judging people, it comes out of a place of jealousy about something, and this jealousy only makes you look worse as well. Some other common mistakes include not coming off as desperate for attention and not jumping into interview mode right away in every conversation. Interview mode, is asking all the common questions people do to get to know someone, such as where they work, what they do, what they study, but it's kind of forceful. You're just kind of forcing a rapport. And the truth is, especially when you're out at fun social events, a lot of people aren't happy with their jobs in life. These people are out in a public place trying to have fun and forget their work life, and it's not enjoyable to them to then have to explain to you all the uninteresting and non-fulfilling things that they do. In addition, you pretending to be interested in something that you also don't really care that much about just leads to an incongruent, unauthentic, try-hard, placating, forced attention-seeking behavior. Now that we've talked about all the things that you shouldn't be doing in interaction, let's talk about some of the things that you should be doing. And the first thing you should be doing is not filtering yourself, but offering your honest opinions. Think about when you're talking with your friends. Do you ever really worry about running out of things to say? Yeah, probably not. Why? It's because in your mind you're not constantly filtering yourself thinking, oh, is this good enough to say? Will this impress them? Will this make me look stupid? But you just talk freely. And when you're speaking freely, you don't really have to worry about awkward pauses in a conversation that would result from you being stuck in your head. Some disagreement and debate in a conversation is engaging. Don't be afraid to ask a person's opinion and disagree with it. Because when another person sees that you're willing to disagree with them, then they don't feel like you're just telling them what you think they want to hear so that they like you. They feel like they can actually trust what you're saying and you're being honest. And they can use the information to then form an accurate opinion of who you are, and this is what allows a connection to be made. Another thing that you can do is let people talk about what interests them. When you hit upon a topic or conversation that a person finds particularly interesting, just let them talk and actively listen. In these cases, you have to do very little. If they're enjoying talking about it, just let them go, and this is going to help a connection form with you having to actually contribute very little in these cases. Try to talk about types of things that the other person is going to find valuable. Like, what information do you have that may be of use to them? What's interesting to them? What useful advice can you give? How can you help them solve a certain problem? When you talk about things of value to a person, they're going to be much more engaged because you're helping them out in a way, and so they really want to get to know you more. And the default go-to conversation topic that you should have is just things that interest you. Because when you talk about things that are of interest to you, you talk about them with a passion. And this passion can be communicated to the other person, and they'll feel it, even if they don't really understand the details of what you're talking about. More importantly is the positive emotions that you're communicating. However, talk about such things at like an explain like I'm 5 level to the people. Don't go into like incredible depth. Especially with things like, avoid talking about, for example, if there's one other programmer in the group of people you're talking to, avoid just talking about programming languages with that person in the group, because the majority of people in the group who are not programmers have no idea what you're talking about, and it's not very interesting to them. Technical people often speak way too in depth about specific things that the general people in a group have no knowledge or context about. And such, they come off as unrelatable. And you might as well be speaking a different language to these people that they don't understand. There's no way you're going to be engaging with them if you speak like this. A common situation that I see occur is like technical people just get way too excited when a topic finally comes into their realm of them knowing something about, and also maybe they're just happy that they can finally contribute something that they feel is going to keep the conversation going. So what they do is they just start rattling off all this information about the show. They know stuff about this knowledgeable topic, but the group is not really interested in hearing anything about it. And the person speaking is not really passionate about it or interested in really talking about it either. It's just now the topic has finally moved to something they know about, and they want to keep the conversation going, so they feel like, okay, if I just vomit all this information I know about this topic, this is going to at least keep the conversation going because someone is talking. But in reality, they're not really contributing to the conversation, and they're kind of just like flooding and drowning it with pointless facts. For a truly engaging conversation, you have to be communicating emotions and not just information. You don't have to be an interesting person for people to be interested in talking to you. Positivity, fun, engaging, and being emotionally stimulating all rank higher than being conversationally interested when it comes to building a connection or things like building attraction. Often people don't even really remember the details of a conversation, but just the general emotions that they felt. You can communicate emotions by talking more descriptively, by painting a picture in the other person's mind with the language you use, by describing how different things looked, smelled, felt, how your emotions felt while you're experiencing a certain thing. Because a picture, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? And so if you can build a picture in the person's mind of what you're describing, they're going to feel a lot more emotions and connections than if you were just only, if they're only utilizing their verbal sense versus, stimulating all their other senses as they imagine the story that you're telling. The truth is, you don't necessarily even have to have a very interesting conversation for another person to find you as an intriguing person. And especially when it comes to things like forming connections and building attraction, the actual conversation itself is often trivial because all the really important things, such as emotions, are being subcommunicated, such as the person sensing that you are a confident, consistent, and congruent person. A lot can be improved by simply correcting a bunch of unattractive behaviors. If you simply cease doing a handful of unattractive behaviors, the vast majority of your social interaction problems are just going to fix themselves. I cover all these behaviors in my book and in other videos, and so I'll just link to that below and continue with this topic. And finally, if you want other people to find you more interesting, try becoming a more interesting person. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take off and travel the world going on adventures, but you need to be exposing yourself to new experiences and new ideas. Say yes to trying new things. One thing that's easy to do is read more or listen to more podcasts. Expose yourself to new ideas. Create your own unique, interesting perspective on things that you can share with other people. And this will make you a more interesting person. So if you're interested in taking control of your social life and having the social skills so that you can build the life that you always wanted, I provide both in-person and Skype coaching. More information can be found linked to in the description below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, ciao.